Screwed that up again. It's my first garden video. Alright, this is a Brussels sprout. The base of this is a Shipova pear. A slow to fruit pear tree. Most people have never heard of it, but I threw it in here. It'll be cool. Brussels sprouts, we have peppers. This is called wintergreen. The berries taste exactly like the wintergreen gum that you eat. That'll get about a foot tall. It's a perennial, it spreads, it's a ground cover. Then at the base, more beets. So you can see this is what the beets look like when I first put them in. And then they grow into those big ones like you see there. So we keep planting, every few weeks. Succession planting, if you will. Then we have, again, more lettuces at the base. I'm going back towards the entrance of the garden where we came in. This lettuce is going to seed. So we'll spread the seeds all over the place. They'll come up when they want in a natural way. At the entrance to the garden, we have marjoram. We have columbine. I have winter savory, another pepper plant. Behind those are actually wild blackberries that I found throughout my yard. I took them in the fall and I planted them. And now we have a different variety of blackberry that are growing over here. These ones, however, have big thorns, whereas the ones I showed you over there do not have any thorns. Alright, so now we'll walk down this way. Have a net over the blueberries. So this is the front of that Gala apple, and this tree is holding not many, but a few apples. Got two over there. So more onions, beets, interplanted. This is a dandelion, because dandelion is a nitrogen fixer. Those greens are edible. We use them in our salads. They're bitter, but they're edible. So are the flowers, actually. This is called a Lady Plymouth scented geranium. It smells great, and it'll grow 4 feet tall by the end of the year. That's a perennial. This is more mint, a Brussels sprout. Then we have a row here of beans and cantaloupe with a pepper there. And then this entire section is new this year. Section you just saw, the fruit trees and whatnot, and the layout is new, but I've been gardening there for many years. So at the base here now we have marigolds, we have nasturtium, the tomatoes. You can see now I have a bunch of these going down here. There's a different mix though. So here's more of that collard greens. Then we have a service berry. This is a cool tree that most people don't know about. This is called a Northline service berry. Behind that, a fennel. Take a step back and go down this section now. So this is a honeyberry, a Cinderella honeyberry. More Mizuna that's going to seed, Tuscan kale. These are new Mizuna leaves coming up. You can see that's what they look like. They taste great. They're our favorite salad green. They're really good. That's Tatsui behind it. It's almost like a spinach, but it's an Asian green. In the front of this tree, we have mint. We have a borage coming up. Another mint plant, a fennel plant, a Mizuna that's going to seed, and this is a dwarf apricot tree of some kind. I forget the name. So in the middle here we have two more ground cherries. You can see there's an onion, another onion there, pepper plant. This is the back of the blueberries. There's a beet that's going to seed here. Down the middle of this whole section is our raspberry patch. So there's different raspberries. So in the center, these are first year. Next year I won't be able to plant these vegetables around them because they'll be so wide, but different raspberries as you go down. 5 or 6 different kinds. And then I'm gonna have a raspberry that climbs over that trellis, but it never showed up in my shipment. It's called a tayberry. All right, so this is a pepper plant. Then we have a eggplant, and so on and so forth down this row. Pepper, eggplant, kind of the same. There's an okra or two thrown in, some blue columbine mixed in. This was the apricot tree. Next to the apricot now we have an eggplant, pepper plant, another honeyberry, This is a Borealis honeyberry. And I have 2 more pepper plants. Most of my peppers, by the way, are very hot peppers for use in making hot sauce. Some bell peppers. So this is a jujube, a Lee jujube. Next to it, I have a sugarcane jujube. At the base of this one is kale. We have another plant. I'm not sure what it is actually yet. We'll see in a little bit. This is cilantro and tatsui that's going to seed, or going to seed. Behind it is another yarrow plant. See, it's almost as tall as the little tree right now. This will bring lots of bees, which give us more vegetables. All right, this is another honeyberry. It just came, terrible shipment from a questionable nursery, but I just got a few more honeyberries. That's one of them. Behind the honeyberry is a pepper, another bunch of lettuce underneath this sugarcane jujube. And I have to weed right there. But when you mulch, you don't have to weed very much. So mostly my weeding is actually mulching. So this is a gumi berry. It'll be very plentiful. This will get about 6 to 8 feet tall. Along this fence and several other areas are this spinach. It's called Malabar spinach. I'll show you a better example. This Malabar spinach loves the heat. So once most of my other greens start not liking the heat, this Malabar spinach will grow up this fence. So I have 4 of those planted along this side of the fence. We've got a marigold, a pepper, more Malabar spinach. This is a berm that's filled in with mulch, but on top of the berm, because you had to dig the dirt out, so now there's a high part, is some lettuce. This is a red lettuce that's going to seed. We'll spread those seeds out. I think this is red cabbage, but it might be that same collard green. Here's another honeyberry. Then at the base of this tree, which is a Hachia persimmon, we've got a bunch of other lettuce. I've got a weed there, or mulch. This is a spaghetti squash. There's 4 spaghetti squash along this fence, and they'll grow up the fence. And in between we have these tomato guilds. This is a watermelon at the base of the tomato. The mulch keeps the soil wet, and as the mulch breaks down, it creates a fertilizer. All of these things are planted in the soil though, not the mulch. That's a Nanking cherry. This is a bush cherry that'll get, 6 feet tall and spread out, gives you tons of fruit. There's another one we'll pass in just a moment. That's more horseradish. To the left is another spaghetti squash. This is Mizuna that's going to seed. And then this is a Honeycrisp apple. At the base of the Honeycrisp apple are strawberries. I'm going to pick these. There's a couple I'm going to pick today. Here's that overhead trellis. There's peas growing inside that trellis. And that yellow flower there is a dill plant, hard to see. The logs in here are basically for seeding, so you can chill out and eat a berry. This is another Nanking cherry. Behind it, another yarrow plant. Another berm here. On top of the berm at the far end is a squash, a seeding Mizuna, some onion plants. This is a seeding collard or Brussels sprout. Who knows? I planted a lot of stuff. That's a tiger lily. Behind that was I forget. There's an okra plant coming up right there. A couple more tomato guilds. There's, again, beans. This is the worst soil in the garden, and this section gets the least light, so the plants are the smallest. This is a Autumn Brilliance serviceberry. It's one of the trees I'm most excited about. Serviceberry is like a blueberry, but extremely plentiful because it's a tree. Some more tomato guilds. This is called a thimbleberry that I think I over-fertilized. It didn't like my weed tea that I made from all my weeds. All the other plants did though. I use it mostly in this section. They perked up. They were a little yellow. This is mint at the base of a Lappin's cherry tree. Two more tomato guilds. Then we have a Rainier cherry tree. These are dwarf trees. And then some mint. At the base of the cherry tree, we have another honeyberry that was just planted. Then I have a little row of cantaloupe or honeydew or watermelon. I'm not sure. I think these are cantaloupe. I'll thin them as needed. And then there's some beans coming up. Behind that is our third serviceberry. This is a smoky serviceberry. There's lemon, basil going to seed next to it. A pepper plant. Another pepper. These are, again, snap peas. Behind them are some wild blackberries. This is a holly tree that's been here for 30 years. And then we have some more wild blackberries coming up. They'll fruit next year. So blackberries are second-year vine fruiters. So in this busy guild here, we have tatsui and cilantro that's going to seed. And behind it is a hazelnut tree. This is either a McDonald or a Webster hazelnut. And there's another hazelnut right there. These will get about 15 feet tall, somewhere in there. Old-timey blue collards, blue columbine, onion behind that, 2 peppers. We have lettuces in here. And this is like the succession planting. So we have lemon basil coming up. Lemon basil coming up over there. And as these lettuces eventually die, the lemon basil will be a foot or 2 tall. And as these trees grow, see, they'll shade the lettuce. And so the idea of this forest is that you can always have an underlayer. So that's the tour. It was long. It's really coming in. It's amazing to see. And it's going to be so abundant. It already is.